Hello everyone, this is Sakshi, a journalist with MediaNama. Recently, during the ongoing winter session of Parliament, the government was questioned about the automated permanent academic account registry, commonly known as the APAR ID, and whether its enrollment is voluntary. The government maintained that the process is voluntary. However, several reports have surfaced indicating that parents have faced pressure to provide consent. So let's begin by understanding what exactly APAR ID is and how it works. Under the National Education Policy, known as NEP, which was introduced in 2020, the Ministry of Education and the Government of India introduced the APAR ID card to assign unique identification numbers to school students across the country. Several state governments have sought parental consent for rolling out the APAR ID, which is a core component of the One Nation, One Student ID initiative under NEP. The government highlights that APAR is designed to streamline academic tracking and document management for students across India, providing digital storage for educational records. As a lifelong identification system, APAR assigns each student a unique ID, enabling tracking of their academic journey from pre primary education to higher studies. This ID is linked to the Academic Bank of Credits, known as ABC, a digital repository for educational credits and certificates. Additionally, APAR ID integrates itself with DigiLocker, allowing students to digitally access critical documents like exam results and certifications, aiming to reduce reliance on physical records. APAR aims to address issues like fraudulent and duplicate certificates by serving as a reliable reference for educational institutions. The government states that only authorized certifying bodies can add credits to a student's APAR account, ensuring the authenticity of the records. However, concerns have been raised by parents and students about data security, particularly regarding the integration with Aadhaar. There are fears that sensitive information could be leaked to third parties. In response, the government assures that all data will be securely stored and used solely for educational purposes. Data sharing with entities will only occur with explicit student or parental consent. Furthermore, students retain the right to withdraw consent at any time, halting any data processing immediately. During the winter session of Parliament, questions were raised regarding the APAR ID, particularly about its implementation and the voluntary nature of participation. A recent statement by the Minister of State for Education addressed questions in the Rajya Sabha regarding APAR for students. The government's response addressed several key queries, including the laws and rules regarding the rollout of APAR, whether enrollment in APAR is voluntary or mandatory, the policies, guidelines, and criteria for school participation, and the standard operating procedure for creating and verifying APAR IDs. The ministry explained that NEP aims to provide holistic multidisciplinary education and ensure universal access to all levels of education. To achieve these goals, the Academic Bank of Credits scheme was introduced to store academic achievements and co curriculum accomplishments for easy verification across institutions. The official website as well indicates that APAR ID creation is voluntary, with parents required to fill out consent forms. However, parents who have completed the process shared their experiences with MediaNama, indicating that they faced pressure to consent. Parents and teachers also shared their experiences on the voluntary aspect of the APAR scheme. A teacher from a bilingual school noted that schools were instructed to complete the process by November. Despite being labeled as voluntary, the teacher said compliance was mandatory from the administration. Pushback from a few informed parents was rare, as many others lacked awareness and compiled without question. Another parent from a metropolitan area mentioned that the school required them to complete the process, leaving no room for denial despite the voluntary label. A family shared that while they completed the process in November, they were unaware that enrollment was optional. They felt the school presented it as mandatory, leading them to comply rather than argue. Another parent stated that their child's school had not yet mandated APAR enrollment but expected such a directive in the future. Parents expressed mixed opinions about the process. Some felt pressure to consent, while others viewed APAR as a beneficial process, consolidating all academic records in one place. However, parents who refused were reportedly asked to submit written applications explaining their decision. To encourage registrations, state education authorities organized special APAR ID days and district level review meetings. These efforts sought to guide schools in implementing the program and boosting compliance rates. Educators noted that many parents, especially from lower middle class backgrounds, did not fully understand the concept of consent. For them, the program seemed like a straightforward benefit for their children. Some schools serving vulnerable populations, such as orphaned or rural students, reportedly handled the process directly, with school administrators signing as guardians. Moreover, with frequent updates from the education department, parents are struggling to keep up with the government's push to digitize the education system. Reports suggest that following the eKYC process implemented in state schools, the introduction of the APAR ID has added to their workload, requiring them to submit additional documents for their children. The responsibility of generating APAR IDs for students has been assigned to teachers, leading them to further challenges in collecting and verifying proper documentation. Reports suggested that teachers in primary, secondary, and higher secondary schools across states were tasked with completing students' eKYC processes. Parents have expressed frustration over the additional burden. One parent shared that after the eKYC process, schools are now demanding more documents for APAR ID creation. Discrepancies in details, such as mismatches between names on Aadhaar cards and birth certificates, have added to the complications, forcing parents to visit the birth and death registration department for correction amidst their work commitments. Another parent recounted spending multiple days waiting in queues to rectify such discrepancies. In one case, a mismatch in the order of a child's name and surname between the Aadhaar card and birth certificate prevented the system from generating the APAR ID. Earlier documentation processes such as eKYC and Unified District Information System for Education Plus had already caused confusion, and this latest requirement has further complicated matters. Teachers are also feeling the strain. One government school teacher explained that in addition to their teaching duties, they are now responsible for eKYC and generating APAR IDs for students, tasks that require technical proficiency that many do not have. While acknowledging the benefits of the APAR ID program in formalizing student data, the teacher emphasized the added burden it places on educators. It was reported earlier this year that 25 crore APAR IDs have already been created. While the program has faced challenges such as discrepancies in data and documents and unclear communication, it continues to expand nationwide. The government asserts that the APAR ID is a valuable tool for monitoring and addressing student dropouts, ensuring continuity in education. Additionally, the government has emphasized that the participation in APAR ID system is entirely voluntary. But is it truly? Thank you so much.